right, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Sportsmen. We've got Joey D, we've got Mikey V. I'm here, the big ticket, and man, it's been a long couple days trying to get this one together with the travel and whatnot. We're doing a late night pod. It's 10:30 here on the East Coast. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Yeah, late night, but we're up. We're burning the midnight oil, as they say.
Hey, we said Wednesday pod. We're delivering Wednesday pod. That's all that matters.
Sure are.
Remember the days, Ticket, when we used to miss 3-4 weeks at a time? This would have been one that we wouldn't have even contemplated. It would have been done and dusted. Mr. Anderson puts in so much hard work now that it's just you feel compelled to make it happen, and not just Mr. Anderson, to the faithful, which is growing exponentially. The Sportsmen faithful are growing, and we owe it to them. We owe it to ourselves. This could be a fun one.
It's true, though. Once we started paying a guy, we decided to get a little more intelligent. All right, this is the fantasy bonanza here. We're going to rip through a shitload of questions. A lot of people wrote in, so thanks to all y'all who wrote a question. We're going to get to as many as we can here because that's what we do on the Sportsman. So the first question, let's tee it up, comes from Tony Wilson. Classic question. What was your best, funniest team name you ever had yourself or heard of? Joey D, let's start with you.
My funniest team name, probably, I think one year I was corn on the cob for Randall Cobb. I think I didn't have a lot of funny names. A lot of times I was like Packers related names. I don't know. There's been some guys in my league who've had some good names. I think my buddy one year, he did for Ray Rice, he did a Ray Rice one, which was I won't mention it, but it was pretty bad, but it was also quite humorous.
Corn on the cob, not bad.
Corn on the cob was my team name one year because Randall Cobb was just tremendous. He was a great slot receiver. That would be probably mine. Or the Gospel According to Matthews I had for a while. Clay Matthews.
You should have led with that one. That's a good one. That's a good one.
I thought you think that's a good one, yeah? Gospel According to Matthews, yeah. That one was good, I thought. But I always did Packers related themes, even if I didn't have any Packers on my team. It's just the way it went.
That kind of
I know you don't like that, but
I am of the opinion that it's got to be, well, you can do whatever you want. I think you should be using a player that you have on your team.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's correct.
So, a buddy of mine did Ray is Finkel for a while. I like that one.
Yeah, that's
a good one. That's
a classic one. I had a buddy of mine to do that too. I like that one. I'll go real quick. One year I didn't look him up. A lot of people will take credit. They'll look him up and they'll take credit for it, but they don't have any creativity themselves. And I've done that before, but one of the best ones I've ever had was, which it kind of seems stupid now, but I came up with it on my own. It was Devonta Suck Your Blood. Now, is that stupid? It seems stupid now. But when I first thought of it, I got a lot of props in the group chat from it of the other guys in the league. It was creative. I don't know how funny it is, but it was creative. That was probably
I remembered my buddies, by the way. It was right after the Ray Rice incident. It was Beats by Ray.
Yeah, it's tough.
Mikey
V?
My favorite team name that the funniest team name that I've ever heard, and it's been reincarnated over and over every year because it was so popular in our one league. My one buddy, his team name was it was a play on words with Tyler Eifert and Zach Ertz, and the team name was It Ertz When I Furt. So it hurts when I fart, right? But it was, it hurts when I fart, and everyone would just say that over and over. And that's been his team name now you don't drop a team name like that when you hit a grand slam. You just keep it. And then my personal, for me, I had the year that there was the big Zika virus outbreak where, people's heads were like babies were getting born with the gigantic heads. I drafted Ezekiel Elliott his rookie year and actually won the title in that league that year. And my team name was Zika virus, but Zeke, Zika virus. And that That was one of my favorite team names, but probably it's one of my favorite team names because I just associated with winning the league that year. But It Hurts When I Furt was one of my top favorite, funniest names I ever heard for a team name.
Ertz was a guy that a lot of people wanted just for the team name capability. There's a lot of things you could do with Ertz.
Yeah.
Ertz so good. There's just a lot of things you can do with it.
My ball, Zach Ertz.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know about you, Mikey V. I am definitely of the opinion that you should, if you're a gentleman and a scholar and a man of good faith, usually create a name around a character that you or a player that you've drafted.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah. It should be.
All right. Thanks for the question, Tony. The next one comes from Dawson Funk. What's the earliest round you're taking a running back, and who is the first running back off the board? Mikey V?
Yeah, I mean, this really depends if you're got a 10 or a 12 or a 10-man league. A running back is going in the first round. I mean, running backs are going to go in the first round. I mean, they have to. 10 or 12-man league, even an 8-man league, I don't see a world where you don't take a running back in the first round. Even if it's PPR, full PPR, I think you still got to go running back in the first round. And after last year, I think McCaffrey has to be the first running back off the board. What he did in San Francisco in the Shanahan offense, you figure Brock Purdy comes back. He was just named the starter today. Officially, Shanahan named him the starter today, which I think everyone kind of expected. But I just don't see a world where McCaffrey doesn't capitalize on the season he had last year. San Francisco's the same team basically on the perimeter with Debo and with Ayuk and with Kittle and with the best left tackle in football. So I just don't see a world where McCaffrey isn't RB1 off the board.
I would agree. I think he's going to be. I have second position draft in a 12-man league in my one fantasy football league. And I think it's going to be either Jefferson and then McCaffrey or McCaffrey and Jefferson.
Is it PPR or is it
it's
traditional scoring?
It's traditional scoring.
Yeah, so McCaffrey should probably go first in that league. He should probably go first. But but I mean, you're in a good spot either way. You're going to get a stud.
Well, that's what I'm saying is those are the two guys I'm looking at. Yeah. I would think, who would you think the next running back after him? Would you go Nick Chubb after him?
Eckler probably. Yeah. I mean,
Nick Chubb is just a touchdown machine, though. I think, Eckler catches the ball out of the backfield a ton. So again,
this is why you got to discuss: is it PPR or is it traditional? If it's PPR, I think you go Eckler. If it's PPR, I think you may consider taking Saquon before you take Nick Chubb. You know what I mean? But if it's a traditional league, then you could talk Chubb. You may have Tony Pollard over Chubb in a PPR league. To be honest,
are you worried about Tony Pollard coming back after a big time injury?
I mean, I am to a degree, but the Cowboys are still, the Cowboys aren't going to win anything, but the Cowboys are still going to be good. They'll be good to the extent that I think he'll be successful. So part of me is a little concerned, but on the other hand, I think he is very, very good, and I think he's going to have a good year. I do. I think he'll have a good year.
I think for me, I typically, there's a lot of data you can run through. There's a lot of things you can look at, and it does matter what kind of league you're running, whether it's PPR or I mean, or a 10-man or a 12-man league. I typically don't pay much mind to running backs. That's typically what forever and always. I've always been that way. Obviously, they're not as valued in the NFL much anymore as well. They're not getting the same reps they used to get. No one's getting 30 a game unless you're
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry.
There's always a couple outliers.
And there's a lot of injuries, and I've just never been a guy to take a running back in the first couple rounds, no matter where I'm.
Really?
I like playing the rookie game. I like getting a lot of guys that most of the guys aren't paying attention to. Like last year in a lot of my leagues, I had a Breece Hall. He was able to fall pretty far. And I just know that I can stream. I mean, sometimes I get fucked. I'll say that, but I usually stream my running backs unless I'm in a good position draft wise.
So would you be trying to get like a Bijan Robinson, maybe he's still got to be high up.
Popular this year, so not a guy like him. And there's also a lot of running backs this year, especially, that I think they're the second string guy, but by week 6 or week 7 are going to end up being the first string guy, or barring injuries. I like getting them later. I like going for a wide receiver. And dare I say, I even go QB earlier than most people go QB. I like having a reliable guy there too, or a tight end. I don't put a lot of stock in running back, and I have faith in myself to find them later.
I love having good running backs. I feel so secure when you have good running backs. Like, but the thing is there's always a guy who comes out of nowhere. Like Josh Jacobs for me last year, I didn't have him, but to me, it was like, everybody was saying pre-draft, don't touch this guy. This guy is not going to have a good season. Stay away from him. I know it was a contract year, but he had done nothing up until that point to show that he was going to produce like he did. And then he just went fucking off. So I guess you just don't know sometimes. Sometimes you just get lucky, or sometimes, I guess in your sake, a guy like that, you could probably get in like the third, fourth round, you know what I mean? For last year anyways, not this year, but then, you might hit gold. You never know. And
then like what Mikey V did with that kid from the Texans last year. Pierce. I mean, that kid came on strong for you too. So I like playing that game a little bit more. I know it's not conventional, and a lot of people disagree with it. That's just the way I play. And I won the league last year. So I'll put that out there. I did win it last year.
How many times? What's the over-under? How many times Ticket mentions that he won the league on this episode?
Because I'm not a conventional drafter. I'm not a conventional fantasy player, but I want people to know that I do succeed.
What was your first pick last year in the draft? Who was your first guy that you picked?
Well, we were running a double quarterback league. I mean, there weren't 2 QB spots, but you have that everyman spot.
The super flex, yeah.
Super flex, but you're going to want to probably put a quarterback there. So it was a little different, but I went with Josh Allen as my first overall pick.
No, you were picking at what position? Do you remember? Like
Josh Allen. Oh, where was I? I think I was 4th.
Okay.
No, I was 5th. Jerry put me at 5th. That's right. Jerry did it.
He
rigged the whole fucking thing.
You had Josh Allen?
I did.
He did.
I had Hurts, and who was my other quarterback? I thought I had Allen. Are you sure you had Allen?
Yeah, Ticket had Allen and Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
That was a dynamic duo.
I had two major quarterbacks also. I had Hurts
and Lamar Jackson was fantastic for the first 4 games. And then
you could have got a king's ransom for him.
He fucking flatlined, dude.
Well, he got hurt.
And his receivers got hurt, and he just never came.
Down. You had Aaron Rodgers, and you got rid of him.
Because I had some. I forget who my other quarterback was. He was tremendous.
Hurts and Rodgers, and then you got rid of him.
No, I drafted somebody else though. I just can't remember. But I mean, I had Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson. So
yeah, that's money.
It was absurd.
Jalen Hurts to me was the best player in fantasy football last year. In terms of consistency, rushing touchdowns, rushing yards, passing touchdowns. He did it all, man. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, he was excellent.
All right, gentlemen. Good question from Dawson Funk. Next one comes from Ray Schmitz. In a year where it seems receiver is paramount, are any of you guys stacking 2 RBs? Back to the RBs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he means stacking, like we're drafting back-to-back RBs, or if he means handcuffing.
I think he means handcuffing.
So if he means handcuffing RBs, I mean, there's a couple handcuffs that are probably going to be decent. Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier may be one you want to look at if you draft Robinson before Najee Harris with Jaylen Warren in Pittsburgh, maybe something you want to do. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery in Detroit is maybe something you'd want to look at.
The Packers,
Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson, maybe something you want to look at. Aaron Jones and
AJ Dillon, but I think that they're both such good players individually.
It's gonna be
that
tough to handcuff them.
Handcuff them.
It'd be very tough to it might not be worth it to handcuff them because you're going to give up a premium spot for a handcuff, whereas the other ones that I mentioned, you may get a little bit of distance between those 2 picks. If and when you make them, but handcuffing is always a good strategy. I did it a bunch of times with Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard.
Madison was a great one.
Madison was always a good one because inevitably, Dalvin Cook always got nicked up, at some point during the year. So Alexander Madison was always a popular one. So that's another good one. And then maybe, Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook this
Dalvin
year.
Cook now.
Because you don't know. I know Breece Hall I think he got cleared to come back to practice, so he's good to go. But I don't know if he's 100% go, if he falls a little bit of stock, but it'll be interesting. But yeah, it's always something you could do, always something you could think about.
They Michael Carter too is on that team, right? Michael Carter.
Yeah,
Smith.
he is. He could be the odd man out, though. It certainly seems like he is, because he's not going to take Dalvin Cook carries away, and he's not going to take Breece Hall time away. So
this is the problem, I think, with running backs now. More and more, these committee running backs by committee, it takes away the value of one of the guys. Like AJ Dillon,
paying him in real life. I mean, that's why these guys aren't getting paid in real life like that, because it is a committee. There's very, very few places where it's just a standalone one guy, like a Saquon or a CMC or a Derrick Henry. Like those, those are the outliers at this point. That's not really, what it is anymore. And another good one maybe you want to look at is Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne out in Jacksonville, if you want to do another kind of handcuff. But
Etienne looked good last year.
He did. He came on real strong. He looked awesome.
Well, it's funny because
of course the rookie year when I drafted him, he blew his knee out in training camp. But
who was the guy that we had ticket that we picked up?
They fucked our guy, Fournette.
Was it Fournette?
We had Fournette, didn't we?
I thought it was.
Didn't we both have Fournette, and he got fucked when he got sent to the Jets, right, from the Bucks?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah,
that's the guy we got fucked on. Mikey V is. I feel like I don't know if it's the night pot or he takes this very seriously, but I feel like he's in the zone here.
He is. We got to keep it running.
You guys got to remember that when you guys were, I don't know what you guys were doing, but prior to us meeting, I mean, this is pretty much what I did. This is
bread and butter.
This is where I made my bones.
Was it fantasy advice?
I did a lot of fantasy stuff. But I mean, I've been playing, I've been playing fantasy football since the dark ages, like before, almost before when you had to write your picks in a notebook, and there was, back in like early ages of 7th, 8th grade when it was like 99, 98. And there was no, not now with all the computer stuff.
You're telling me you would do fantasy on a composition notebook?
Yeah.
And how were you guys tallying up points?
Some poor old guy who ran the league. That was his responsibility. God. And I mean, you don't envy something like that.
That sounds horrific.
Yeah, it had to be.
Oh my God. Like, how many fantasy draft cameos did you do today?
5, I think 5 or 4 or 5. They take a long time, man. They take like 8, 9 minutes.
I saw you did like a 9-minute cameo.
That's how long it takes, though, the way I do it, because I
did it in 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, well, you must, Joe. I mean, listen, I deliver a different type of service. I don't know what to tell you.
It's all in the
icon. My Lord.
I just see, Joe. Do you do the auto pick? The computer auto generate?
No, I put it in a hat, and then I pull the picks out. Yeah. But I have everything ready to go, and then I just pick it out and I just start reading it.
Okay, yeah. No, I have the names on the list. I rip the names up, I put them in the bucket, I show them.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a production. You get what
probably
you
halfway through the cameo, these guys are like, can you just pick the fucking draft?
I don't know. The reviews have been stellar.
What's your price right now, Mikey V? What can you get that service for? At what price?
$39.99.
Wow. It's a lot cheaper than mine.
Yeah, I saw yours, Da's getting a 70 piece for his cameos.
75, I think.
You ramped it the fuck up too.
Well, here's the thing, bro. Is that Cameo takes Cameo takes a lot of that money, though, Joe.
Well, no, out of the $75 Cameo, I mean, but if they book on the app, out of $75, I get $41. It's a fucking crook.
Yeah, they take
Cameo. I call them the Cameo crooks.
They whack you.
All right. Okay. I mean, you work for them. They're making you money, Joe. At the end of the day, you don't want to call them crooks, but
I'll call them crooks.
Wow.
The Cameo crooks. But the bottom line is, hey, I love Cameo. So hey, book a Cameo. But it's true, man. How you take it? How almost it's because the app, like Apple takes some of it off the app, and then Cameo takes it, so you get double bang.
Yeah, you get
if they do it on the website, then you get more. And if they do a 24-hour one, that's when that 24 hours when you light up like gold, because those things come in hot.
They could leave tips too. I get left a lot of tips. People leave tips and stuff.
The reviews are nice because it just shows that people,
Yeah.
But normally my cameos are like a minute and a half to 2 minutes long.
Well, that's what a normal cameo, when I do like a birthday or a shout out or a bachelor party, that's what it'll be. But the fantasy drafts just take a long time. The way I do them,
We've gotten off topic. Ticket. Next topic.
Real quick though, are you aware that on your thing it says you're a correspondent?
What does that mean?
I don't know. You have yourself as a correspondent here on Cameo.
Just ridiculous.
You don't even know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing on there, do you? You don't even know what a correspondent is.
You don't even know what
it says Joey Colcutt's here. How does it say correspondent?
All right. We'll move on.
We got to move on.
Yeah.
We got
to move on.
All right.
We got to move on.
Next question comes from Evan Lindstrom. I haven't played fantasy in a few years. Tips for a 12-man PPR auction league.
Auction leagues are tough.
Yeah. You got to keep player tiers in mind. Just, recognizing what the tier rankings of the players are. You really got to know, because you got to really work within whatever budget that you have, prioritizing positions with, with multiple starters, like, running back, receiver. That's spot you probably don't want to handcuff is in an auction league. I would recommend against handcuffing in an auction league. Flex wide receivers. If it's a PPR league, I would use the flex spot on a wide out. Because again, everything has to be taken in consideration of what you're budgeting out for your position. So I would flex wide receiver there, and that's pretty much, what I could give as advice for that.
My only advice is the one time I did the auction, I banged myself by paying way too much for the first round pick. Just don't overreach. Do not overreach, because you screw yourself. I did it one time. I got my player. This was back in the day. I think I did it like years ago. I overreached for Adrian Peterson, and as good as he was, paid way too much. And then I hardly had anything left to put the rest of my team together.
Yeah.
So you gotta have a price in mind for like your first couple rounds of what you're happy to pay for a player. And if it gets to the point where it's past that point, you just got to let them move.
Auction league is one of those things where you should definitely consider running several mock drafts online.
Yes.
There's plenty of sites that do them for free. You don't need to have
ESPN does
membership. And run like a bunch of mock drafts auction style, because it's not like anything else, so you really should get acclimated to it, especially if the guy said he hasn't played in a while. So yeah, I would definitely do that.
That's got to be one of the tougher drafts when you're doing an auction, because there's so many things that you have to keep in mind, not only just filling roster spots, but how much you're going to pay and how much you have left. It makes it really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, would you get involved with an auction league anymore, Mikey? Like if last year you set it up?
No.
Yeah, you wouldn't. Yeah,
no.
I would
too much.
You know why?
If
you want to do that and you like that much, just go on the daily fantasy fantasy books and just do those every week, and you could do that. And you know what we do actually is a group of my friends, they do it every week. It's $25 to get in every single week, the entire season, and they run one every week. So every week you get a new chance. Yeah, our DraftKings. Well, I'll say it's DraftKings because we love DraftKings. But FanDuel has one, DraftKings has one, and it's just everybody runs it every single week, and you get a new chance every week, and it's cool. Weekly fantasy is daily fantasy, but for football weekly.
Did you ever do those?
I used to do those all the time.
Yeah,
man.
they're fun. They're fun.
I had a buddy, I had an old roommate who used to spend hours and hours and hours on his computer, and he would use the computer to analyze the best teams to win.
Lineups, yeah.
And he would make hundreds of accounts.
And he probably lost a lot of money.
Teams. he rarely won. I don't know what he was doing. He spent a lot of money. He won once, like 10K. That's the thing, is all it takes is one of those to hit really big and you can win a lot of money. But it's a fucking racket, dude.
My brother did it. My brother did it years ago. He had a lineup with like OBJ and all these guys who went off, and he was gonna pick, I think it was Jimmy. He picked like Dawson Knox or somebody instead of picking like, or maybe not Dawson Knox. He picked somebody instead of picking Jimmy Graham, and he switched it. And had he not swapped it, he would have been in like a tier where he would have made like 15 to 20 grand. Instead, I think he made like $700.
Well, that's the thing, is that the guys who win like the $1 million, entry pools on the weekly, like their lineup is just so ridiculous. Like the fact that they picked a guy who nobody else is going to pick, and he just goes off and has this random week where he scores 3 touchdowns. It's usually a tight end. It usually is a tight end, or, some awkward receiver who doesn't, catch a lot of balls, but for whatever reason, he had 3 touchdowns that week, and that's how it goes. So that's how you win those big, big pots.
It is a lot of fun though when you got your guys and your teams, and then someone catches a touchdown or whatever, or it's a big run, and you go and look at the standings, and you were 100, and then you just jumped up to like 50,000. It's a lot of fun. I like it. I don't do them anymore, but I do I used to love them. That's a great question. This one's coming from Ray Schmitz. Give me a good buy sell for this year's rookie class for running backs.
I'll buy for running backs, or just the rookie class in general.
It can be anybody if you want, just the rookie class in general.
Okay.
I mean, you got to put Bijan Robinson amongst the top. I mean, in terms of how much, I would buy him just in terms of how much action he's going to get and how many carries he's going to get consistently. You don't draft a running back that high as a team if you're not going to plan on playing him. So I would think that he's going to be heavily integrated within the offense. So just for that reason alone, I would put him as a buy. I mean, that's obvious, but I just think sometimes don't overthink it,
Yeah, I think everyone's going to be really high on Bijan Robinson. He's like he's the darling rookie of this class. I feel like he's the number one guy getting most talk, him and Anthony Richardson, the quarterback out of Florida who plays for the Colts. But I'm going to buy Jordan Addison, the receiver from Minnesota. I think he has a big year because obviously of the guy who plays next to him. Justin Jefferson, if you're a receiver who wants to like potentially have seasons to earn like a gigantic contract, maybe elsewhere as a free agent, the guy you want to play next to right now is probably Justin Jefferson, because all the attention is going to be focused on him, and you could really, carve your own path. So I think Jordan Addison is going to be a big one from Minnesota. And then I'm going to sell Bryce Young from the Carolina Panthers. I don't think there's any reason to invest in this guy in terms of fantasy. He's a quarterback that I believe should probably go undrafted, maybe in most drafts, and maybe a stream option if he proves otherwise. But granted, it was against one of the better defenses in the league, against the Jets, but I saw a team that could not block, and I saw a quarterback that's I believe he'll have his weeks where he does really well because he's athletic and he's a talented kid, and I think he's a leader, and I think he will be good eventually, but not this year. So I'm going to be out and buying very low on Bryce Young's stock this year, and all rookie quarterbacks for that matter.
I think CJ Stroud is going to struggle immensely.
Well, yeah, he looked really bad against the Patriots.
He looked really bad.
But again, another quarterback who's a rookie who has nobody to throw the ball to, and his offensive line could not block worth a lick. And that's a disastrous situation for a rookie. I know, because I saw it with Justin Fields. It's a bad situation to put your guy in.
Where would you put Jahmyr Gibbs? Because I think he's another guy.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That might be tickets guy.
That your buy? I know he's a Lions guy.
You're selling Gibbs?
I'm selling Gibbs.
Wow.
It's not a bad sell.
I'm selling him for a lot of I just didn't love him at Alabama. I mean, I know he was fantastic, but he was in a great system. And I'm also selling him partly because everyone's got so much faith in the Lions. I've seen enough travesty happen to the Lions. I don't trust that organization to take care of him well and the way that he needs to be taken care of. I think they're going to throw him to the wolves. And I think the Lions will find a way to to fucking crumble, man. And I
They
just,
paid David Montgomery too. I mean, they're not going to pay
Yeah.
David Montgomery that money and not run the
I know,
football.
I know,
mean,
and
they're
I just
not.
don't think Jameer
He's
Gibbs
still
is gonna
got some
survive in
juice
that
left too,
situation.
Montgomery.
He does, just not for the price they paid, but he does.
No.
No.
Jake, who's your buy?
And they did that. They did that the other year with your boy from the Packers, Joe. What was his name?
Oh yes.
They
Everybody's favorite.
love
Jamal Williams.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
Jamal
he had what, 17 touchdowns last
Yeah,
year?
he was great. He
Yeah,
was great.
he was
That guy.
great.
was
Oh
great.
my
He's
God,
great.
that guy was
He's great.
banging guys who got DeAndre Swift.
and he's the best interview you can buy.
Yeah, the best.
He
so
is-
good.
He's a team
Hilarious.
player. He's a great guy.
Yeah,
So
he is.
good.
He is. And then I was going to go for my buy. I was going to go Anthony Richardson. That's the way I was going to go.
Yeah, I mean, he's a physical freak, Richardson. The issue I have with him is I think fantasy-wise, Ticket, we're just talking strictly fantasy. I could see him doing well. But just in terms of success as a quarterback in the league, I watched a lot of Florida football last year because one of my buddies is big-time Florida guy, and I always like watching the Gators. I always thought they're a good team to watch. He really was inconsistent completion percentage wise. Yes, he has those plays where you're just like, holy shit, this
Right.
guy is the best thing I've ever seen. Literally, he's that incredibly talented. I just worry about his consistency as a NFL caliber quarterback. But fantasy wise, he should post good numbers.
Well, I tell you
His
why I
straight
like him
line
for
speed is
fantasy.
tremendous. He's
I like him for
good.
fantasy because I think with Jonathan Taylor, they're going to work Taylor down the field a lot of the time, and he's going to be in a lot of first and goal situations, a lot of second goal situations, and I think he's going to, a lot like Jalen Hurts, obviously not
Nobody's tackling him by the goal line. He's 6'4". He's 6'4",
a lot of rushing touchdowns.
Nobody's
Yeah.
going to tackle him.
I think he's going to get a lot of that, and you're going to get some value there with him.
Yeah.
So I like him to buy.
Mikey V, I have a question for you quickly while we're talking rookies. Jackson Smith and Jigba, do you think you got to think playing alongside Metcalf and Lockett, he's going to open up as a third receiver.
Yeah,
He's
he
got
should.
some
He'll dominate the
opportunities.
slot. He doesn't even need to be a slot receiver, but the fact that he's in the slot makes him even more attractive, I think, as a target. He could become like a safety blanket type, a safety valve for Geno Smith. My only concern is that Geno Smith, after that year last year, I mean, is he really going to repeat the same success again this year? Have we just all been fooled by Geno Smith, and now all of a sudden Geno Smith is a really good NFL quarterback? Maybe. I don't know. The NFL's fucking weird, but that's my concern with Jackson Smith and Jigba is not so much his play. It's really what is Geno Smith going to be as successful, and is Carroll going to open the offense up a little bit? Because you're talking about a guy who wants to run the ball 90% of the time. This guy just wants to pound,
Penny
pound.
is going to be good this year.
Yeah,
so
Ken Walker, Penny. I mean, they got guys, but
Geno's going to throw 15 interceptions this year.
Tick, he's a Mountaineer. He should be one of your guys.
I saw him do it there at West Virginia too. Every time you start trusting that guy and you let him, the thing is, because he can't be trusted, when you keep him tightly locked and you only let him run the same 5 plays or whatever, he's good. But then when you start trusting him and he starts making some big plays and you open up the playbook to him, he makes mistakes, and he always does that. And I think you're going to see that this year. I could be wrong, but you give him another great weapon like that, they're going to let him air it out a little bit. I look to see a lot of picks from that guy this year. Fuck that guy, man.
All right.
I think I don't think Penny's on the team anymore. I think Penny was a free agent. I think the Bears picked him up. I think it's Walker and then Charbonnet. I think
Charbonnet from UCLA he was a stud last year.
I think Penny's gone. I think the Bears got Penny. I'm almost positive.
Let me look.
All right.
I'm looking right now.
All right. Well,
For the Philadelphia Eagles, Rashad Penny.
Okay, then the Bears got another running back from Seattle. I forget who, but not a starter. He's like a 4th string guy. So I just forget who it was.
Yeah. All right. Well, good question there. Next one comes from David Klitsch. 3rd pick, CMC and Justin Jefferson off the board. Standard league. Who you taking? Joey D?
In our league, it's standard league, right? Fuck. I might go with. I said I love Chubb. I think I would go Nick Chubb. I love everything about him. He's an integral part of the offense. He gets the ball a lot, and I mean, I know some people want to go receivers. I'm a traditional guy. Give me a running back. It's either that or I'm taking the first quarterback off the board. But I think you don't need to. I don't think you need to reach that high for a quarterback in a standard league. Now, in a 2 QB league like a super flex league like us, I'd almost go for a guy like Hurts or Mahomes. But in a standard league, I give me Chubb. Give me Chubb at 3.
Mikey V?
Yeah, I go Jamar Chase. I just Jamar Chase to me, him and Justin Jefferson are like 1A, 1B. And I know Burrow with the ankle, that's a concern for some people. That it could be, excuse me, the calf, not the ankle, the calf. I know that's a concern for some people, but I just don't see it, lingering too far into the season. At least I hope not. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll play through whatever he's got to play through. It may affect his mobility more than it's going to affect anything else, but the fact that he's got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase out there catching balls, and Tyler Boyd, he's just got an embarrassment of riches in Cincinnati. So I just think Jamar Chase, another year of that chemistry. I just think he'll have a tremendous year. So I would go Chase.
I agree. That's exactly where I was going. I was going to go Jamar Chase. I would consider Nick Chubb. Just because I really like him. I would consider Austin Eckler. I would consider Stephon Diggs. But I think by the time the clock, hits 0, I'm going Jamar Chase. The kid's just too fucking talented. And like Mikey V said, another year with that chemistry, they're just getting better and better, getting to know, the back of their hand. It's child's play, I think, with the two of them. All right, great question. Next one comes from William, no last name, just William. For a 12-man league, is there a certain draft strategy you guys like? Mikey?
Yeah. 12-man league, I think you keep the quarterback later in the back of your mind a little bit. Because 12-man league, you got to remember running backs, the depth is going to evaporate very quickly in a 12-man league. I'm talking like outside the first 4 rounds, it gets very dicey. If you don't consider the running back and the wide receiver position early on, you have to. So yeah, I would say running back early. If the elite tier receivers, so I'm talking about Hill, Chase, Jefferson, pretty much those 3 guys, and then there's another crop of guys right under them.
Devontae Adams is in there too.
Yeah, I don't know about Devontae this year. I don't know about Devontae this year. I just hate that. Right? I hate that situation in Oakland or in Las Vegas, unless Garoppolo gets axed quickly for Aiden O'Connell, because I think they got a better shot with Aiden O'Connell. I loved Aiden O'Connell at Purdue. I thought he was fucking awesome at Purdue. Obviously, I watch a lot of Big Ten football because my team plays in the Big Ten. This kid is good. He looked good in the preseason game. Preseason means shit. I know that, but I worry about Devontae. But anyway.
Well, also Deebo Samuel's another one in there too for high wide receiver.
Yeah, there's another guy.
You had him last year. He was fucking.
I did, but he was amazing for you. He was my wide receiver 3, though. I got very fortunate where I was able to get him, and I already had my 2 top dogs. With Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson, that'll never happen again as long as I live, having those 3 guys on the same team. There's no way. So all I'm saying is, if you're in a 12-man league and that those top tier, really top flight wide receivers are gone, you really got to consider running back early, in my opinion, because again, like I said, and Joe, kind of to what you said before, like I get ticket strategy with the streaming and stuff, but that does make life very difficult. Whereas you could kind of put it on a little bit more cruise control if you have some stability there, especially in a league where most leagues you're mandated to start 2 running backs every week, no matter what. It's just the crop is just so much thinner of guys that are reliable for consistent points as opposed to wideouts. So if those elite top guys are gone, I would consider the running back sooner than you would think.
Here's a wild take from me. If you're sitting like towards the mid to like lower tier, like first round pick, and you're looking at like the top 3 running backs and receivers, the guys that we've all mentioned are gone, you should do yourself a favor and get Travis Kelce as soon as you possibly can, because there is no player as dominant at his position than Travis Kelce, with the exception of maybe Kittle, but that guy's been banged up for years now. Travis Kelce is it's like having another wide receiver one on your team, and Mahomes is just going to continue to pepper him. Especially
maybe even more so this year.
Even more now. They lost Juju Smith-Schuster.
Justin Ross got carted off the field today at practice. I believe he had his leg wrapped, so he could be out. I don't know the extent of the injury, but I do know he's carted off.
I would try to start getting Kelce after, say, like Jefferson, McCaffrey's gone, Chubb is gone, Eckler's gone, and then Chase and one more. Like if you're 6th, 7th pick, you should be eyeing Travis Kelce. I just think, and I have not done it, and I've always said I want to do it. And then every week when you're up against him, the guy just fucking goes off. He doesn't have off weeks.
No, not really. I mean, I mean, it seems like every other week or every third week he goes for like 3 touchdowns. 2 or 3 touchdowns minimum. You know, that's just,
he's going to be great again this year. So that might be my advice. I mean, it depends where you're at. If you're in a top pick, then, you know, you got to go for your studs. But I do think if you're a middle to lower end pick and you have an opportunity to get that guy on your team, I wouldn't think twice.
Yeah, that's a lot of what I was going to say. I mean, but Travis Kelce is sort of the only guy like that. You mentioned Kittle, and I think you waved off him, but much like
no, there's a very large gap between Travis Kelce and the next
exactly,
guy.
and a lot of it's
very
just because of the situation he's in. You know, I like Kittle a lot, and I think he's very talented, and he's worth a high draft pick if he had a better quarterback and a better system going on there, but he doesn't. I also just like, I mean, Mikey V already mentioned it. I do like waiting on the running backs a lot, so I would just keep peppering those wide receivers, man. Just keep taking them off the board, make people pressure the guys there. And but if you're not going to be a waiver wire dog, if you're not going to be a free agency guy, if you're just going to be checking your team every once in a while, then maybe go with the running back. Go with the running back early and make sure you got a guy. But if you're a waiver wire dog and you can stream these guys, if you pay attention, it's possible to do it. But yeah, just go maybe like an AJ Brown or a Devonta Smith. You know, there's a lot of guys out there. There's a lot of good wide receivers. I would just keep peppering that wide receiver train.
Another thing, Tick, just to go based off that, if you're active, like some players are active with trades and moves throughout the league, and you see that there's a clear gap and you need a running back and there's a clear gap, and instead of forcing yourself to pick one, load up on a position. Like, don't be afraid to go, and you have 1 or 2 really good wide receivers, go and get another one, because you know what? A week or two in, 2-3 weeks in, you're going to have somebody who needs a wide receiver one, and you might have 2 or 3 of them. And then you could go back and you can make a trade. You can get that running back that wasn't available at the time, and it can work out for you. So I'm a big fan of, if there's like the guys that you're looking to get are off the board and you feel like you're reaching to get a running back at a certain spot, load up on another position. And then you know what? You can stash those guys. You could do what Ticket says. You can play the waiver wire, get some young guys out there, but then you'll always have an opportunity to turn around and flip one of those high-end wide receivers and get a running back on the receiving end as well.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right. Good question, William. Next one comes from Zach Wilson. Got a lot of time on his hands now.
Yeah.
12-man league, PPR, 2 flexes. At what point do you start thinking about drafting a tight end? Joe and I just sort of touched on this, but Mikey V, when are you thinking about drafting a tight end, 12-man league, PPR, couple flexes?
Yeah, I would say 12-man league PPR, 2 flexes. If you're at pick 7 or 8 and Travis Kelce is still on the board, I think you have to take Travis Kelce at that point. I think that's when you start. So if you're pick 7 or later and Travis Kelce is available, then I'm going to assume that it's a PPR league. So I'm going to assume Justin Jefferson's gone, Jamar Chase is gone, McCaffrey's gone, Tyreek Hill's gone. And then maybe Eckler or Kupp is gone. Kelce's next man up there. He could be next man up now. He may go sooner than that. Some guy may take him sooner than that. Don't be shocked if that happens. And then the issue is that your next best tight end is really Mark Andrews. But the drop off really where Andrews is on the pecking order in terms of overall tiers, I mean, he's more of an early 3rd guy. He's an early or late third guy. So now you got to wait. You can't, rush it there. So you really have to see how it falls. But if you're pick 7 or later and Travis Kelce is still there and it's a PPR league, I would say you have to make that decision right then and there. You have to. And then I don't know how his flex positions work. I don't know if it's RB, tight end, wide receiver. I'm assuming so for both slots. I'm assuming so, but it may not be. But Kelce has to be the pick if that's your situation.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, waiting too long. I mean, I know, like Mikey V said, there's a huge drop off after Kelce, but man, after you get past those first 3 or 4 tight ends overall,
you got to hit on one. You got to really.
Well, Dawson Knox is a guy that you could get lucky with.
I don't know about Knox this year because there's a guy named Dalton Kincaid out in Buffalo.
I know,
and this kid could fucking play, bro. This kid is the real deal. He's a stud coming out of Utah. He is as he's raw, but he's as talented as they come for a tight end, and he's going to be really good.
You know who I used to love, really good. And he always got fucking hurt was Darren Waller. Maybe if he could stay healthy in New York with the Giants, he could be. But again, all those guys, you're waiting. There's no need.
Oh, you're waiting. Yeah,
you're waiting. You're waiting way down. Like you ain't. Mark Andrews, maybe like you said, third, 4th round.
But we can get good value on a TJ Hawkinson, who's he's an upper tier tight end now.
But
the problem is there's upper tier tight ends and then there's Travis Kelce. That's the issue.
What can happen sometimes, man, is once someone starts, a couple later rounds later,
it starts a run.
You make your pick. You pick a wide receiver that you like, and then the next guy starts that snowball effect of the tight ends. And then you find yourself 10 picks later. It
happens with quarterbacks all the time. Every time someone drafts a quarterback in a particular round, the floodgates open and everyone starts panicking. They got to pick a quarterback because God forbid if 2 go in a row. Then
last year, a lot of guys took flyers on Kyle Pitts and they got fucking burnt. They got burnt badly.
I took Pitts high last year in one league. I did, and it sucked.
Yeah. I mean, dude, once you get past, obviously, Kelce, Kittle, Andrews, Goddard, I mean, it starts. Hawkinson, yeah. It's slim, man. And it gets cold and dark and scary. And that happens.
Long gone are the days of Antonio Gates, Gronkowski, and Tony Gonzalez. You know what I mean? Sure. When all those guys were playing at the same. I mean, you legitimately had 4 studs at the tight end position, like legitimate, like no brainer studs. And that's not the case anymore. So,
yeah, man. And you don't want to be streaming all year with a tight end.
No,
work with running back.
Goddard's a good option. I actually like
Goddard's a top flight tight end. He's a top flight tight end. He's the tier below Kelce, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I would consider taking him over Kittle. Not that he's better than Kittle.
He's not better, but I get what you're saying. Yes, I don't disagree. All
right, good question. You know what, Mikey V? I have a quick question. Take 2 seconds to answer it if you want. It's a little off topic, but Kyle Trask. I've been waiting for
the Trask Master
for just someone to give him an opportunity. Just give him a chance. No one does. I loved him out of college. I thought he was going to get a start almost right away.
Another Florida guy.
They just keep not giving him the ball. And I'm starting to get a little frustrated.
Well, now you got Crybaby Baker over there, and Crybaby Baker's going to get his way. A guy who touted himself to be this great quarterback, which he was in college. It's great. There's a million great quarterbacks that play the college game. Give it some time, and I think you're going to see Trask get an opportunity this year. I think you will, because it ain't going to be Baker. It ain't going to be Baker.
Well, we still like Baker. He's a friend of the pod.
I don't care what he's a friend of. He personally offended me when he planted the Oklahoma flag at the Ohio State 50. It was short-sighted. It was classless. He forgot, I guess, that the year before in Norman, Oklahoma, when the Buckeyes rolled into town and curb stomped them 42-10 or whatever it was a curb stomping the year before. But he's got amnesia. He's a friend of the program. Good for Baker. Happy for him. Good luck to you this season, Baker.
But look for Trask in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good question, Zach. Next one comes from Owen Gossner. with Bijan Robinson listed as third running back on initial depth chart, do you see a problem drafting him top 5? Mike?
Top 5.
Top 5.
Top 5 is a gamble. Again, are we talking? If it's a traditional league, it's less than a gamble. If it's a PPR league, it's a bigger gamble. It's a gamble either way, though. This is a gamble either way.
That offense isn't good. That's the problem.
That's one problem. They really like Tyler Algier. He was really good player for them. So that could be slight contributing of another problem. Now, obviously, where they drafted Bijan Robinson, the fans are gonna get him his touches. He's gonna get his. But yeah, another point that Joe just said, the team is pretty stinky. Like, it's not a good team, right?
Yeah.
So
Desmond Ritter's their quarterback. I mean, there's nothing to be excited about there.
Well, I mean, Bijan Robinson is something that people want to get excited about.
I do like Drake London. I think he's going to have a decent year this year.
Ticket disagrees. He's one of those guys that I wonder if I'm going to keep waiting for him to have his moment, and it just might not keep coming. You know what I mean? And
on paper, listen, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Cordell Patterson.
Cordell Patterson had a great year last year. He was awesome.
They definitely have talent on paper. It's just in the NFL, if you don't have a quarterback, you're not going anywhere. You're not. You may, if your team is superb on the defensive side of the ball and you have some good talent on offense, you could get away with a bad quarterback up until a certain point. You could even make the playoffs, but eventually that bug comes to bite you because the quarterback's got to go out and win a game when it counts. And if you got some guy that can't do it, that's it. That's the end of the road. And I think, right now the Falcons are going to have to figure out what's going on. Maybe Ritter has a good year this year. I don't know, but I doubt it.
I doubt it too.
I doubt it.
Really
I'm not rooting against him.
No, we're not. Ritter. All right, boys, we got a ton of questions here. I'm going to start, cherry picking here instead of going right in order, just to get to some ones that I really like. Next question comes from JD. Keep Davante Adams or Garrett Wilson for a keeper league. Of those two, who are you keeping?
I mean, I know who I'm keeping.
Joey D?
The sexy answer is Davante Adams. The correct answer is Garrett Wilson.
See, I disagree. I think the sexy answer is probably people would say Davante Adams, but I believe the correct answer is.
That's what I said.
No. Yeah, I meant reverse. I think
sexy answer is Davante Adams. The correct answer is to keep Garrett Wilson.
I would think people would say the opposite, though. I think people would say the sexy thing is the trendy guy, the offensive rookie of the year. Now he's got Aaron Rodgers playing with him, but that is the correct answer.
Davante Adams holds
the correct answer.
A higher name and weight.
Oh, he definitely does. But this is the up and coming.
Aaron Rodgers is the fucking man. And Aaron Rodgers is going to sling the ball. And Aaron Rodgers is
objectively, he's the fucking man.
He is. I'm sorry. I think he's going to be fucking awesome this year. I really do.
I do too.
And Aaron Rodgers, to his credit, and again, the quarterback situation in Vegas is shaky. Davante's interest could be shaky. I'm not so certain that it's not. How bought in he is to this Raiders team, that there's always something going on that's stinky around that team. Something's always going on. So that concerns me. Garrett Wilson is younger. Garrett Wilson is as good a route runner as you will ever see. Out of Texas to Ohio State. I remember he was such a good player in college, him and Olave together. He is a superb, clean, crisp route runner. This is not a typical rookie or second year receiver. And with Aaron there now, and with Lazard there, and with all the pieces that they've added in the offseason, Cobb's a locker room guy who will help him out in ways off the field.
Don't forget, Mecole Hardman is a guy who can get deep too.
Mecole Hardman is a burner. Mecole Hardman's a burner, and I think not taking anything away from Mecole Hardman. I think he is a good player. I think one of those guys who kind of was expected that he was going to do a little bit more as a receiver. He's kind of was like a gadget guy almost in KC. But yeah, Garrett's the man. Garrett Wilson is the man, and I think dynasty wise, he's the younger guy. You got to go with. He could be on your roster for the next 4 seasons if you don't have to give out that high of a round pick.
That's exactly where I was going with it too. Garrett Wilson for me. That's
Yeah.
a pretty simple one. I don't like anything about what's going on over there in Vegas.
Yeah, it's bad.
I don't see Devontae as talented as he is.
I do like Aiden O'Connell, but
Oh, there you go. Like Aiden. He ain't playing, but Mikey likes
listen, he I bet you it is. He might be playing by Halloween, Tick.
That's true. Garoppolo always
playing
finds
by
a way.
Halloween.
Tick, you normally stand up for Garoppolo.
I love Garoppolo because you know want to know why? It's because he's a winner. You can always count on him to win, and you can always count on him to get hurt. But before he gets hurt, he'll win.
You can always count on him not to be able to do special things though in the biggest moment. He can't.
Yeah, but he wins. He wins
just
football
can't.
games, Mikey. He wins football
He
games.
also loses football games.
You know who not many. You know who
Oh, Tick.
you know there's a
That's
lot of
great.
talented guys out there who make a lot of special plays and can't win. And I think conversely, Garoppolo's always been a guy who doesn't make special plays but can win. You know,
That's
yeah.
fair.
it's fair. I think it is fair.
It's fair. It's fair.
All right. Thank you for that one, JD. AJ Gurrell asks Michael Thomas from New Orleans, bounce back year with a new QB.
Yeah, I mean, Derek Carr looked fucking again preseason. It was, but it was the Chiefs, and the Chiefs and the Saints both played their starting quarterbacks. Mahomes played, Carr played. So don't tell me. I mean, it meant a little bit more. I feel like this one felt like more of like a real kind of vibe to it. Because of that, I think Michael Thomas could have a big bounce back year. And the reason being is because he's playing across the field from Chris Olave, and Chris Olave, much like Garrett Wilson, is going to demand. And by the way, I'm talking about 3 Ohio State guys now: Michael Thomas, Olave, and Garrett Wilson. But Olave and Michael Thomas, I think that's the perfect situation for him to come back into. He's got a guy now where the defense is going to mostly be focused on where's Chris Olave every time he's on the field, which is going to be every play. I think Carr's a veteran quarterback who could get the ball out. I think Carr's not terrible by any means. I think he's a serviceable NFL quarterback. So I do think that I think Thomas could be set up for a nice little bounce back year. Is he going to hold up physically? I don't know. But if he does, I think he could have a very decent year. I do.
I would temper
in a shitty division, might I add. Very shitty division.
I would temper expectations. Anytime you're out that long, it's hard to get back into it. It's just, I mean, you saw the same thing with Deshaun Watson last year. Now, obviously, he's a quarterback. It's a bit different. But when you miss that much time and you try to come back, it's not that seamless. So, you know, you're not wrong. You know, you might not be wrong, Mikey B. He might be good, but I would put a flyer on him at best. I would not be putting eggs in the Michael Thomas basket.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, you're not going to
pick him up in the late rounds.
Reach for Michael Thomas. I mean, we're not talking about reaching for him, but certainly if he's there in the late round, he's worth a flyer. Just as you said, Joe's worth a flyer.
7th round pick,
probably later than that for me.
Yeah, I don't even.
I do like him though. I think he will have a good year as well. I mean, you know, we're just talking about Garoppolo and how all he does is win. Derek Carr is a guy who he always finds a way to lose. This guy always finds a way to lose football games, but he does do it in style and he scores a lot of points. He just finds a way to lose late. So
I'll never forget.
Michael Thomas will have a nice year.
I'll never forget the one time.
Don't bring it up, Joe.
Prize Picks, we had needed Derek Carr to rush for 5 yards.
Might have been 4.
I think it was 5 or 4. The last play of the game, he was running. No one around him and slides when the player is like 2-3 yards away from him so that he wouldn't get touched. And we lost by half a yard. That guy was dead to me at that moment in time. That was the worst beat I've ever seen.
That was one of the worst. Yep, sure was.
Guy's spineless.
Yeah. Not wrong.
Okay, spineless.
Seems like a good guy though, but
yeah,
good guy, but spineless, but good guy. All right, thanks for that one. We're gonna jump to Jacob Dahl here. What round do you believe Jalen Hurts will be drafted? I guess, or should be drafted. Depends on what league you're in. I mean, he's gonna be drafted.
Yeah, it depends if there's like
late first, early second.
You like him in a late first?
I think if you're like a 12th pick, for example, or like 11th pick, and you know you're getting a couple picks back to back, to me, to me, I said this earlier, Jalen Hurts to me is the best quarterback that you can have in fantasy football. I think he's better than Mahomes. I think he's better than Josh Allen. I think he's better than Burrow. Just because of how many rushing touchdowns this guy gets every single game.
Yeah.
I would say second round pick for sure. I would try to get him.
I think that he's going to get severely overdrafted in a lot of leagues by people who are just obsessed with him now. But I do think that he's a top 3 fantasy quarterback in his sleep easily. But it depends on the league format and scoring.
Yes.
And he's going to, like I said, I think he'll get overdrafted some places, but he should not go later than round 4 in any league. He shouldn't go later than round 4. He's got to get drafted in the top 4 rounds easily, I would think. I can't see a world where he lasts longer than the 3rd round in most cases. So by 4th round, he's going to be gone, I would guess, in most every league, especially 12-man league. He's definitely 12-man league. He's a
12-man league gone. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Jalen Hurts, but I'm a little skeptical on him this year. I don't think he's going to have as good a year. I hope he does. He's my guy. I don't think it's going to be like last year. That being said, I like quarterbacks early. I just might not go with him.
If he stays healthy, I don't see why he wouldn't, though, Tick, if he stays healthy, because the team on offense is still just as great as last year.
They have a great offensive line.
I think they'd only be better.
It's just such a tall, it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. I mean, he had an outstanding year, so that's true.
But to me, the Eagles, the only team that is close to the Eagles in the NFC is the Niners. I think the Eagles are far and above the best team in the NFC.
I agree. I mean, listen, man, I also don't like taking too many guys on my own team. I find there's a lot of hype around him, man. And he's the kind of guy who can handle it and not let it get to his head and still work hard. But I just don't like all the hype around him. That usually spells travesty. I don't like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm going quarterback in the 1st round. Whether if you like him 1 overall, I would do it. Yeah, like you said, later in the 1st round, but I don't mind that. That's what I'm going to do. All right, good question. Next one comes from Owen Wendell. Do we like snake draft as preferred method of draft, and how much time per pick? Mike,
I've always done snake draft.
Joey D?
I've never done anything aside from snake draft in all of my leagues. And to answer how much time per pick, I think it should have like 3 minutes, 4 minutes tops.
4 minutes. Wow,
4 minutes is on ESPN. It's 2 minutes. I think that's a little quick.
4 minutes. 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
We did a fucking live fantasy draft every year with my other league, and this thing takes like 5.5 hours to do. It's outrageously long. And we take a pizza break in between.
Oh, I love it.
But I think if you're trying to be pressed for time, I think 3 minutes is a good time per pick.
I think in the league that I play in, I think it's 3 minutes for the first 2 rounds, and then it's 1:30 for the rest of the draft. That's the way we do it. It's snake, obviously. I mean, I've never drafted any other way. Any other way to me would be uncivilized, as Charles Barkley would say.
You did snake back when you were drafting on composition notebooks, Mike.
No, dude, I don't even fucking remember how we drafted back then. Who knows how we drafted back then?
They were drafting with Morse code.
Yeah. Smoke signals. Carrier pigeons.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, how are we feeling? We still going? You want to keep ripping?
We can fire through a few more.
Yeah, let's do it. I could go all day with this. I could answer
well, let's just
I'm just saying. I just wanted to gauge where the boys are at. Mikey V, how you holding up?
I'm holding up. I gotta get up at 5 though. I got an hour with the Stairmaster.
We'll rip through like 4 or 5, 4 more. We can answer more as well. All right. This comes from J711. I have the number 2 overall pick in a 12-team PPR league. Who should I draft?
McCaffrey or Jefferson?
You think? Yeah, but who are you going to go with?
It depends who goes 1. Whoever goes 1, you take the other.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, again, I don't think you could go wrong with Jefferson. Obviously, you're number 2. So Jefferson, CMC, or Jamar Chase.
Perfect. All right. This next one comes from Tim Dunn. Where are we with Deshaun Watson this year? I guess let's go with a fantasy perspective on that.
Yeah, I don't like him. I mean, listen, not that I don't like him. I just am not high on Cleveland. I know a lot of people are very high on Cleveland. I think that division is going to be very, very tough. That division is going to be very, very tough. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Baltimore. I don't know. I'm not big on him. I would stay away personally. I wouldn't make the leap of faith with Deshaun Watson unless it's a situation where he plummeted so low that it's like it would be a no-brainer not to take him. But I would not be moving around or strategizing my draft by maneuvering around to get Deshaun Watson. Oh man, he wouldn't be on my radar, Joe. So honestly, I couldn't even answer that question for you because he's not even on my radar right now. If I saw Deshaun Watson's name past round, let's say 9, I would say, okay, maybe I have to consider it. That's what I would say.
Well, here's the thing. He's not going to be worse than last year. Last year was as bad as he was going to be. He's got good pieces around him. And I think like the expectations are low. So you probably can get him at a pretty good bargain. I don't think anybody's going to be reaching to get Deshaun Watson this year. He's interesting in a league like ours, Ticket, where you have a super flex. If you could get him as a second quarterback, I think he could be valuable.
Yeah.
If you have like a really good first quarterback, say you got like a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson or something like that, and you were able to get Deshaun Watson as your second QB, I think he could be valuable for your squad. But I wouldn't try to get him as your first guy. To Mikey's point, I don't think you're expecting the world from him like you did in Houston.
Yeah, from a fantasy perspective, I like him. I mean, like Mikey said, I'm not gonna strategize around him. But if you find yourself in a situation like we were talking about earlier, and you just picked and the QBs weren't going, and you picked a wide receiver, and then all of a sudden, right after you, the QBs are falling off the board, and it gets back to you, and Deshaun's sitting there, I would consider him. I would consider him. I mean, it doesn't.
All right, let's do a little game. Would you guys rather have Deshaun Watson or Geno Smith?
Deshaun
Watson.
Yeah.
Would you rather have Deshaun Watson or Derek Carr?
Yeah, Deshaun. I don't know.
He's thinking about it.
No, I rather Deshaun. I got to tell you, Geno Smith's got a lot better situation offensively. But yeah, again, you're naming quarterbacks that are not even in the
Deshaun
radar
Watson
realm
or Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence with a bullet. Trevor Lawrence with
Ticket
a
was
fucking
thinking about
bullet.
it.
No, I like Trevor too.
Trevor Lawrence. I mean, did you guys see how Trevor Lawrence ended the season last year?
He's my guy, Mikey. You don't got to sell me on.
It's Trevor Lawrence with a fucking bullet.
Yeah, I agree. Deshaun, he is what he is. If you find yourself in a pinch, man, take him. Don't strategize around him. Just don't do that, Tim.
If you find yourself in a massage room with him, be careful.
All right.
Moving on.
All right, we'll do a couple more. We'll do 2 more. We'll do this one from Ken Witten. What big players should I stay away from? I got shafted by Cam Akers hard last year.
That's a good question. What was that again?
What big players?
Cam Akers fucked him last year.
I'll give you a couple names that I have as DND. You know what DND stands for? Not Dungeons and Dragons. Do not draft. Najee Harris.
Wow.
Najee Harris.
Wow.
Najee Harris in 2 years has averaged under 4 yards a carry his first 2 seasons in the NFL. Now, this season is a big year for him because after this year, the decision's got to get made if they're going to pick up that 5th-year option, right? If they're gonna start to consider picking up that 5th-year option. I don't like Najee Harris, and that's a big name. Miles Sanders. I don't think Miles Sanders is gonna all of a sudden now, even though what he did, it took him a long time to do what he did with Philly consistently, finally. And it's a bad offensive line in Carolina. It's a rookie quarterback in Carolina. Defenses, if I'm a defense in the NFL, we're stopping the run first, and then I'll worry about Bryce Young, right? So I'm going to sell out, and that concerns me. And then last but not least, Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is a big name that I'm out on this year. Mike McCarthy calling plays concerns me very, very much. And this guy has not looked the same since that devastating injury on his MVP campaign year. The level he was playing at before he was injured. I'm saying obviously MVP like numbers he was putting up. That devastating ankle injury, he has not been the same player since that. And that combined with the fact Kellen Moore is gone and fucking McCarthy is calling the plays scares me with Dak Prescott. So those are my three guys. Those would be the three names, big name guys that I would be very, very leery of. Very leery of.
I'll give a couple. DeAndre Hopkins. I'd stay the fuck away from him.
Yeah, he's old.
I'll give a guy who you won't agree with, Mikey V, but I would tread carefully on the Cooper Kupp train this year.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I think the Rams are washed. I think the Rams they sold their soul to win a Super Bowl. They won it, and I think their time's over.
The value that you're gonna have to pay to get a guy like Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, it's a first round. It's a first round pick.
And Stafford is just is not what he's
a corpse.
Stafford's not good, man. I don't like Stafford at all.
He's hurt most of the last
year.
year.
No, Stafford. Listen, Stafford's a borderline Hall of Fame quarterback.
But I'm saying he's not. He's on the downswing.
He's washed. Like I said, the Rams are washed. Be careful with anybody.
Stafford is washed, though.
He's washed.
Hurt.
He's washed.
Hurt all of last year.
This guy has deeper issues than that injury wise with his neck and his back. I'm telling you, he's washed. It's over from that stuff.
You know who's another one too? Another one who I think he had a much better season, and I think he's going to regress a lot is Joe Mixon. I don't think Joe Mixon is going to put up numbers like he did last year.
Jolton Joe Mixon?
Well, here's the problem too. There's so many mouths to feed on that Bengals team.
Yeah, there's a ton.
There's a ton of people.
Like the Seahawks. Yeah.
Yeah, I those are three that I would say.
Okay.
Pick. Who do you not draft?
I may bet against the Rams every week this year. I think I just had a betting epiphany, and the Rams are going to be my
Rams
target.
Are going to
be my target team.
I think the Rams are going to be good. I want to make that very clear. I also don't think that Matt Stafford is washed.
I think he is, Tick. I really do.
I mean,
I really do.
It'll.
I think they're going.
What?
I think they're going to stink.
Of course, the Rams are going to stink. I'm not saying that. But if
he calls himself the Rams,
he may get benched.
I love Stafford.
He may get benched.
Yeah, he may.
Wow.
For Stetson Bennett.
Stetson Bennett looked good.
Stetson Bennett.
Listen,
you don't think the fans? You don't
Bennett's
think the fans are going to start fucking begging for Stetson Bennett if Matt Stafford struggles the first month? No.
I don't.
You know what? You're right, because they're shallow Los Angeles fans. They won't do shit. So you're right.
Maybe. All right. A couple names I'll throw out there is, none of these guys I'm saying don't under no circumstances draft them. Just guys I don't think are going to perform, and they're big names. One is Lamar Jackson. I'm going to go Lamar Jackson.
Wow.
I don't think Lamar's going to have a great year.
That's a ballsy take.
I don't think Lamar's going to have a good year. And
I think
he just got paid.
Massive year. I think he's going to have a massive year if he stays healthy. He's
going. What happens when people get paid, Joseph? What happens when people get paid?
True.
Well, not a lot of talent to throw to either. I mean, he's not working with he's not working with riches over there.
He hasn't for years, Tick.
I think he's got his best situation now that he's ever had.
Last year he stunk. Yes, I agree with that, Mikey, but still not great. Still not working with what Joe Burrow's working with by any means.
Joe Burrow, I mean, that's an outlier. Joe Burrow's got the best receiving trio in football, arguably.
He's not working with Buffalo's working. I mean, there's a lot.
I don't know about that, Tick. I don't know about that. I mean,
Buffalo's got a better receiving person. Stephon Diggs is hands
OBJ.
Down
you
Mark
think
Andrews?
You want to talk about washed? You want to talk washed, Mikey V? You're going to say OBJ is a great talent for Lamar Jackson? You think he's going to
better than what he had?
We'll see about that. We'll see. This guy's a
You guys should make a wager on Lamar Jackson this year.
Yeah, I think the Ravens are going to be scary, bro.
I don't know.
All right.
Anyway,
all right, who's your other?
Jalen Waddle is another guy I don't love this year at all. I don't love him. I don't
Why though? For what reason? Is it personal? It has to be.
I think Tua stinks. I think that offense.
We've had this
stinks.
discussion.
I think Tyreek Hill is when Tua does show up. I think Tyreek Hill's getting all that action. I just don't love Waddle. I think he's going to have a fine year. If you're thinking of him as one of the better wide receivers out there, I don't love him for that. George Kittle is another one. I'll just start railing these off.
Who's next? Patrick Mahomes?
No, that's right. It's a situation with George Kittle. I just don't think he's gonna be a top tight end this year. When it comes from numbers, he's a great blocker. He does a lot of great things, and it won't be because he's not talented. I just don't love what's going on over there.
I think Kittle has to have a massive year because I think Brock Purdy, his second year in the league, came out of nowhere. Iowa State kid, was great at Iowa State, was a legend over there, but for him to succeed in his second year, the most important thing for a quarterback second year is stability. And I think stability is synonymous with the tight end position, safety valve, safety blanket guy. If Kittle doesn't have a great year, then the Niners aren't going to have a great year. I think Kittle has to have a great year in order for Purdy to succeed as the one, or you're going to see Sam Darnold, because it ain't going to be Trey Lance, because Trey Lance stinks. So
yeah,
that's
I don't like
it to be Sam
situation.
Darnold. Sam Darnold's our guy.
The QB situation.
Joe just wants it to be one of his guys.
And Sam Darnold's a great
What's wrong
guy.
with that?
Nothing at
Sam
all.
Darnold ends up playing for them, I love my George Kittle washed up pick more than ever if Sam Darnold comes in.
Wow.
Hey, by the way, let's just call
Like-
it a spade. Sam Darnold through the first half of the season was a pretty stellar quarterback last year.
You had a tough time getting that out of your mouth, didn't you?
He had a good first 3-4 weeks. He was really good.
He might have had a good first 3 quarters from what I remember.
No, I thought he was solid.
No
the first
offense to
several
Sam
weeks.
Darnold. I mean,
Nice guy. Great
nice
guy.
guy. Nice guy.
Just-
Nice guy.
Then I have Zeke Elliott on there too. Obviously, he's already kind of been washed, but people think he's going to be revitalized in New England. I just don't.
No, yeah, no. And I see a lot of things like Ramondre Stevenson's production is going to drop because of Zeke Elliott. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I mean, I do believe because Belichick is a nut that he'll use Elliott a lot, but I just don't see it. I just think Ramondre Stevenson's good enough. It won't really matter for him personally.
I agree. All right, let's wrap it up with one last one. I like this one. We can keep it quick. I know we want to get out of here, but Dan Brunell asks, who's a guy who you will forever be thankful for helping you win a championship in fantasy?
That's a good question.
I know mine. Jamal Charles. I made a trade years ago. I made a trade. I don't remember who I gave up. This is back. I had Michael Vick, I think, or I had something like that, and I traded a bunch of guys. And Jamal Charles was the guy that I was eyeing down, and I got him in the fantasy playoffs. I had him that week where he went off against the Raiders. I think he had like 5 touchdowns and went bananas. He had one of the best fantasy games of all time. I won against one of the better guys in the league that year, and I went on to win the whole thing. Jamal Charles was my fantasy darling that year. And then another guy, what's his name, from the Browns, the running back, the bruiser running back who was on Madden.
What
was his name?
The white
Peyton
guy?
Hillis. Peyton Hillis.
Yeah.
I had Peyton Hillis one year. I didn't win the league, but I almost bought a jersey. I almost bought a Browns jersey. He was so fun to watch. He would rumble through fucking guys, and he brought my team, which was average at best. He brought my team far into the playoffs. I didn't win, but that year was the year Peyton Hillis, and I loved every minute of it. Those are 2 guys who really came through big for me in the past.
All right, I'll go quickly, and then we can wrap up here with Mikey V. Hate him. He's a scumbag, but he led me to the promised land. Cam Newton.
Oh,
spectacular. Wins. Had him a couple years in a row, and it was a special time to be alive. Really was. All right, Mikey V.
Rodgers won me like 2 titles at least over the years. I used to always draft Rodgers. I mean, because my whole theory on that was
his happiness.
Yeah. Good for Aaron. Listen, and you won't find a bigger Aaron Rodgers guy than me right now. You won't. I love Aaron Rodgers.
Why do you love him so much?
Because I think he's great. I think he's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game.
He really is.
I hated it. I hated him because I had to hate him for so many years. It feels good to be able to let go of that hate. Like Yoda told Luke to let go of the hate.
Yeah.
Feels good. Feels
Do you
good.
feel more at peace now, Mikey V?
I do, yeah. Now
Until Jordan Love
can
comes
go
in and-
fuck himself. No, don't start that shit.
He looked good for his preseason game.
Yeah, he looked great.
7
What
to
What
10.
7 to 10. He wasn't 7 to 10. That wasn't a stat line. He completed
7
like,
to 10, 100. He was like 79 yards and a touchdown.
I don't know about that. I gotta look into it.
Why would I lie about that?
I know Justin Fields didn't throw an incompletion and he had 2 touchdowns. I know that.
Here he
Also,
was.
that pass to DJ Moore was a shit pass, by the way.
Sure was. Sure was. Guess what? Guess what?
Yeah.
Guess what? Touchdown.
That ain't gonna lead you to.
Yeah, he was 7
Guess
to 10.
what?
7 to
Touchdown.
10, one drive, 46 yards passing and a touchdown.
46
quarterback
yards passing.
quarterback rating of 113.
I mean, that's all right, I guess. 2 touchdowns, no incompletions is better though.
Oh yeah, well when you throw a fucking screen pass to a guy who then
Get some more.
dodges
Get some
through
guys who
every
get some
single
guys.
guy.
Get some guys with a little bit more athleticism, a little more pep in their step, a little bit of breakaway speed, and maybe you'd be getting touchdowns too, Joe.
All right, let's do a wager.
This guy.
Who has a better fantasy football season?
Love or Fields?
Passing.
That's how can you even answer that?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Why don't you just say it has nothing to do with fantasy? Just say who has more passing yards at the end of the year. Just say that.
I started going down the fantasy route, and then I realized
Yes,
I'd
you
get
did,
fucked.
and you were like, "Oh shit,
'Cause
Fields, will
Fields
run for like
runs-
200
Yeah,
yards."
he runs
a
like
game.
150 yards a game. Passing yards
Mhm,
and passing touchdowns.
mhm.
Who has more at the end of the year? Your guy or mine?
Fields.
I'm gonna go Love.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure you will.
You're such a prick, Joe. You used to dismantle Jordan Love. All
He hated Jordan
I
Love.
did
He
hate Jordan
hated
Love.
that.
Now
You
he's
hated
forced to
him.
love him. He's forced to love him.
I hated Jordan Love because it wasn't Jordan Love's fault. I hated Jordan Love because I hated front office. Because instead of going out and drafting a guy like T. Higgins, who would have fucking helped us win a Super Bowl, they fucking moved up. They moved up in the first round to draft a quarterback when we had a guy who had back-to-back MVP seasons in him.
There's no question that Brian Gutekunst is a fucking idiot. There's no question about that. He manages that team like a fucking dinosaur. He's terrible. There's no question about it. But to say that drafting T. Higgins would have gotten you, it might have gotten you closer. I don't. They needed.
You're telling me
to get,
if they had
needed to
T.
get Aaron
Higgins as
some
a
help.
second-
They needed.
You're
Aaron
telling me
needed
if Devonta Adams had T. Higgins on the other side of the ball when they're force feeding him on double coverage every fucking play, you don't think T.
man.
Higgins would have come up with some good plays?
That was just weird that the Packers had so many good players still.
Or
And
maybe they should have fucking moved up and gone Justin Jefferson.
Oof. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what the Eagles fucking missed out on him.
No, you guys got
Jalen
Rager.
Rager.
You're good.
No, there you go.
That's
We
a
all
guy
tried
that
it.
Ticket hates more
Tick,
than
listen,
anyone.
listen, they righted that ship so see, and that's the difference between a great GM and a shitty one, right? Because your GM immediately fixed that issue, brings in AJ Brown, drafts the Slim Reaper.
Tell you
They
what,
got
Mike,
fucking pass catchers up the wazoo now.
it wasn't immediate. It was not immediate.
It took 2 years.
2 years
did
is
write the
not-
2 years.
Yeah, but there was a 5-year period before. It wasn't just Jalen Rager. There was fucked up draft after fucked up. We used to own fucking up drafts. That used to be our lane.
But no longer.
Yeah, how he fixed it. He got his head out of his ass.
That
And
D line, that Philly D line, spooky.
Yeah, it was
man.
scary.
Oh. Who's that? Jordan Davis? That
Every-
guy is a big boy.
Everyone-
Jalen Carter. Jalen
But-
Carter. First fucking play. Fucking swim rip move. Fucking
It's unbelievable.
sack.
You
Yeah.
see, we already lost Sean Bradley though. Our linebacker, we already fucking lost him for the first play of the game. First
How long?
He was a little tall to be playing linebacker anyway, wasn't he?
season ending, Joe. Season ending. He's gone. He's gone.
He'll be fine.
You'll be
Preseason.
okay, Tick.
How's this TJ Edwards guy? He's a dog, isn't he, Tick?
Yeah, he looks like it. Like, he sure does.
Yeah, that's
He's
awesome.
looking good.
I
Huh?
love that. I love
Tick,
that.
you got to be excited for this year.
I'm excited. I mean, Mikey V's looking awfully excited after one preseason game.
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, I can tell you what. If the Bears start getting good, Mikey's going to be a dickhead. Mikey,
They're losing week one. I'm
looks
telling
like
you
a
right
bad-
now.
Yeah, well, Mike,
Not gonna be a dickhead, guys, but you gotta understand. My team hasn't. You guys come from these teams that you've seen win Super Bowls in your older years. I've never experienced that. So why don't you just give me a little leeway? Let me have a day in the sun with my fucking team, okay? While you guys go philander about with Baker Mayfield.
I'm telling you,
let me
though,
have my moment, okay?
I'm just telling you, though, I think they're going to lose week 1.
Joe, I know you keep saying that, and I'm telling you right now, if that happens, you won't hear from me for quite some time.
I'll promise you this: if they lose week 1, I will not rub it in.
That's fine.
All right?
I won't rub it in either. I'll only
gracious.
rub it in the immediate, like, as the game is happening. I will not
I'll be getting quarter by quarter fucking rants from Mikey V.
We should be watching that game together, but I'm not going to have that conversation again. But that's fine.
Bob doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, I know.
I'm
Very fucking lazy.
And you know what? He's not going to listen to the Sportsman podcast, so we can say whatever you want anyway.
Sure, we can do whatever we want.
Tick, let it all out, Tick.
He wants to come out for 2 NFL Sundays minimum to my house. That would be the ideal one. One of them would be ideal because of the rivalry, but it's fine.
Am I invited, Mikey?
Yeah, are you actually going to show up though? Last time we know your track record, Tick, is not the greatest.
Now I know that you'll take care of me. I needed to teach you a lesson, and I think you learned it. I'm ready to go here.
I mean, there was no lesson learned. I was just like, Tick, it's unbelievable. That's all. That's
all right. All right.
I think we wrap it up. We did a good hour and 20-something minutes almost.
I gotta get up in 5 fucking hours. Fuck.
It was a good fantasy bonanza. You did it for the people, Mikey. You did it.
Yeah, no one can question your heart, Mikey V.
Sure did.
Hey, you know what? If you're listening to Sportsman, go book yourself a Mikey V fantasy football cameo.
That's right. And for less than a cup of coffee, you can join the Brotherhood as well. So why don't
That's what you really should be doing, because if you're not, I don't know what the fuck.
You won again today. You won again.
Sure did.
Yeah, he did.
Just continues to bet against the Yankees. He's going to keep winning.
All the glory to the Brotherhood. Well, listen, when you throw Luis Severino out against the Atlanta Braves, I mean, how is this guy still? I'm not going to get into it, but how is this guy still pitching? How is he still pitching, guys? The guy gave up a 3-run bomb again in the first Actually, inning. After that, he settled in, but it doesn't matter. Nice. He still gave up a 3-run home run in the first. The Yankees got 1 hit by the Braves. First team in MLB history. Listen to this. First team in MLB history to be 1 hit and hit into at least 4 double plays in a game. First team ever in Major League history. They are beyond stink. If they only fire fucking Boone and Cashman still has a job, the whole thing is a sham. It's a disgrace. Hal Steinbrenner, everyone is fucking laughing at you. I know you don't care because you wipe your ass with $100 bills. Good for you, but you have disgraced your father's once beloved organization of dog. You know what?
Somehow we did a fantasy football draft and we still got a
I'm
Yankee
disgusted.
rant.
I can't even watch them. They're unwatchable. It's unwatchable baseball. They stink.
They do stink.
Yeah, now you're getting a taste of what the rest of the country usually deals with, Mikey.
And it always comes back to that. Everyone always has to say, if they're not a Yankee fan, you guys deserve it. You guys deserve it. Why? What did I ever do to you? Why? Because my team was successful.
If you want your moment in the sun with your Bears, you've got to come down off your pedestal with the Yankees.
I'm not on a pedestal. I expect to see competitive baseball.
Well, lose
competitive baseball.
Lose like a winner, man. I mean, you're losing right now. That sucks. You know what? The Phillies.
We're not losing. We're setting records. We're breaking records of infutility.
Here's a record for you. The Phillies were the first to 10,000 losses.
Who was?
The Philadelphia Phillies were the very first baseball team to 10,000 losses.
How long ago was that?
Team to get there.
How long ago was that?
It was a few years ago. We're the very first team to get there.
You've been around a long time though, Tick.
The Yankees.
Yeah, but the Yankees are a special.
All right, let's wrap this fucking thing.
Let's wrap it up.
That was the fantasy bonanza. There's a lot more questions. Maybe we'll do another one. Maybe we won't.
We should probably do.
How about we schedule? How about we schedule our fucking draft though? We should do that. Yeah. That's important.
Yeah. We'll settle that.
Dickie Gas is out for blood this year.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, dude.
Dickie Gas ticket is one of the low-key better rivalries in all of fantasy.
I already had to put him in line a couple times.
Yeah, I know. It's great. It's so great. It's so great.
But keep firing in your questions. We'll keep answering the fantasy questions as well as all other questions you guys have. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube. Go follow the Instagram. Mr. Anderson will funnel those questions back to us, and we will answer them at the end of each episode. Thank you, as always, for all your questions. Gentlemen, thank you. That's Joey D. That's Mikey V. I'm Big Ticket. We are the Sportsmen, and we will see you next week.